This kind of video is going to be more of like a what to expect, setting expectations type of video. We're going to talk about what we do know, pretty much kind of speculate-ish with some reasoning and some evidence about what could potentially be in chapter 4. Nothing I say here is confirmed by Proletariat because this video is sponsored by Spellbreak and Proletariat. That does not mean that this stuff is confirmed by them. Also, I want to make it known that we're going to make another video closer towards chapter 4 of everything we do know. So this is just like a speculative expectations, setting the kind of like groundwork type video. Last Thursday was roughly a month from the end of chapter 3. So you've got like 4 weeks left. They're normally about 12 weeks. That doesn't mean they won't add a week or 2 weeks or whatever after that. However, chapter 3 was a little bit short, so they might be ahead of schedule. We don't know if they are. So obviously the timeline kind of plays into the fact that Halloween is right around the corner. The place where we play Spellbreak is called HoloLands. They have made a Halloween pun in the past. They like Halloween. It wouldn't be a very big surprise if the patch comes before Halloween. I don't think it will be like the 19th or 21st. I'm thinking more so like 26th maybe, or 28th, which means 3 days till Halloween, and they could just do that whole week with a brand new patch. Everything feels fresh and new with Halloween stuff. There's also map stuff that came in with 4.1, and 4.1, if you don't know, the mid-chapter patch for chapter 3, and it changed some stuff inside of Hope's End down the bottom left and Fever Ridge in the top right, which is basically like the same biome of like spooky, weird, corrupted stuff. Back in the day when they changed Bogmore, they kind of changed a little bit of Bogmore first, gave it a new lighting, and then the next patch kind of puffed it up a lot with what we have now. It was much different. Then they changed the lighting, and then they brought in the new map stuff. What my thought is here is that they kind of do a little bit of the same. They change Hope's End, Fever Ridge a little bit, and then maybe for the storyline of vampires and blood-sucking other corrupted other things, potentially change the whole thing for Hope's End and Fever Ridge. I want to also point to one thing that we could finish here in chapter 3. Marcus found out, I don't know if he did this himself because math skills of Marcus, are they good, are they bad? I don't know, but Marcus, or counted, I guess, wouldn't be that hard for others, that chapter 3 has 3 less quests than chapter 2 and chapter 1. Both had 36, chapter 3 has 33. Marcus has the idea that we potentially will get three other quests, which would be 1 week's worth of quests. So we could get 3 new quests unlocked at the very last week. And then it just kind of shows off the final story, because the end of chapter 2 had a really cool cutscene in the game, kind of. It was like a VFX, like a giant visual thing. Chapter 3 didn't have that. It was basically just like, go here and fight this thing. I kind of tend to believe Marcus on this one. I kind of fall in line with this. There might be 3 more at the very end, and we'll get like a really cool scene like we did in chapter 2. We also got a water skin with a water dragon, a water art, which was an water artifact, a water dragon face, cloudburst, and a water afterglow. He's got water all over him. I feel like at this point it's just like confirmed that we're getting a water gauntlet, which back in the day, last year actually, holy cow, it was teased by Cardell that the next element is already in the game. So ice would be water. It's the same element. It's just, you know, solid and liquid states of the two. Chemistry. I also have a video of why I think water is the next one. They've pretty much teased it for a long time. I'll put the link down below. If you go to their roadmap, September of last year, long term, it says more gauntlets, classes, elements, runes, etc. Yup, we've got a lot of exploration we've been doing here into art styles for elements, concepts, and prototypes for gauntlets and runes, and more. We've even opened up a few jobs specifically to work on these in the last few weeks. A year ago. In my mind, it has been so long that I would be very surprised if it's only 1. I'm not gonna get my hopes up and say that it's gonna be more than 1, but I would be surprised if it's not more than 1. It's been so long that it could be a plus for every single new gauntlet, or in every new class. It breaks down into 2 for each thing. So like, you know, lava, fire. I don't necessarily like the lava exploration of that. You get my point, right? Water, ice. You wouldn't really have to change the loot tables because whichever class you choose is which variation of that gauntlet you choose. So it'd still be the same gauntlets. It's just broken down into whichever ones it is, or weapons, or whatever they do, because they've added a lot of new weapon artifacts, and that could just be because they look cool, but could also be because of something else potentially. So now that we've kind of broken into the roadmap, I'm gonna kind of go over what it says long-term. We're just gonna read it and then we'll talk about it as it goes. So long-term, so they break down like short-term and mid-term. Short-term was basically like the patch in like less than a month. Midterm was like 1 to 3 months, which is basically when they brought in the chapters. We want to tell a story, blah, blah, blah. In the coming weeks, we'll have a much more in-depth look at the chapter systems. Basically when they brought in chapter systems, which we have because now we're going into chapter 4. Anyways, long-term. Long-term is where things that are very large or in very early stages of development live. These things are likely 3 months or more out. 3 months, mind you, is what their original target for this was, but have been deemed a priority and discussions are happening internally. There's not going to be a lot in here in terms of specifics to share, but we wanted to let you know what this stuff we're actively discussing, designing, and nailing down. For all of these, they're far enough out that there's plenty of time for feedback and discussion with y'all, and that's what we hope to do over the coming months. Okay, this is where the more gauntlets, classes, elements, runes, stuff that we talked about. They also want to talk, they've also wanted to change the mastery system, the way that classes masteries. So maybe when they bring in the new gauntlets, classes, elements, runes, whatever, about this, etc. They also bring in the class mastery. So I'm thinking that maybe we get a whole new bunch of nonsense and crazy stuff for chapter 4, because they have said that chapter 4 is going to be the biggest content patch they've ever pushed out. We want to introduce a variety of limited time modes. We utilize the crazier mechanics in Spellbreak, Frozen Alacrity, or Flight Races. Featherfall plus Frost Gauntlet only matches loot pinatas. Low stress modes that highlight mechanics in new and hilarious ways. Or if I'm being honest, as a test ground for the more permanent introduction and more experimental features. We have not seen, I don't think, any of this unless Dominion has been a 2-chapter test. We have seen none of this so far, so we could potentially be seeing some of this, because back in the day, Flossie talked about how they tested multiple modes. So we could be seeing some of these things come out soon. If you don't know Flossie is community manager Andrew, which brings me to another casual / something that could even benefit competitive players, is they've been talking about guilds for so long, and that's in this one as well. Finally want to introduce ways for you to play together with your friends that last longer than a single match or session. We want to reinforce special bonds amongst players, give you shared goals that you can work towards together, and proudly show off your group's accomplishments. They've been talking about this for a very, 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 very long time, and I know for a fact they are not going to introduce this until it is perfect. It's potentially going to be in chapter 4 because it's been over a year, and they've had the time to maybe make it perfect. And at this point, if it doesn't come out now, maybe they're waiting for something, maybe for it to pop off a little bit more. But I don't know why you would wait for that. I don't think if we don't get this at some point soon, we may never get it. So maybe chapter 4. I always said chapter 3, and then they used chapter 3 to kind of fix a bunch of stuff. They made a lot of good steps. So I'm thinking maybe now for guilds. We're gonna get to the very last thing here in a second. But I do want to mention that we're probably going to get a lot of balance changes. I think that's pretty much obvious. If they add new gauntlets and whatnot, we're probably getting a lot of balance changes to make those kind of fit in better with the current stuff, or maybe the current stuff is changing and all of this other stuff. Who knows? We're also hopefully going to get some levitate tweaks, maybe some mana management, please. Mana regen time changes, or the amount that mana takes to levitate, some changes like that maybe. Now we're gonna get into the last thing. I think it was like last week, Flossie was talking about ranked mode. Someone asked ranked mode in Dominion, and Flossie basically was like, we do have ranked mode in Dominion, that's right. But we've been testing some other things and it's going well. So, and then he just kind of goes on to talking about like, I don't know, I think food? I don't even remember what he talked about, but he like completely skips over it and no one asks any other questions. And then later somebody puts it on Twitter, I think it was Timmy, and then people kind of start noticing it. We don't know what this means. It could mean literally anything. It could even mean that they're just fleshing out the current customs of the Dominion one. Maybe it is BR, maybe it's whatever new mode or limited mode they're bringing in. There's a bunch of things that we just don't know about this. I want to, the way that this says right here, ranked and competitive modes. Spellbreak's combat, skill expression, and team dynamics make this an incredibly exciting place to explore. We've heard a lot of feedback here and have a number of ideas that we're kicking around, but what are you looking for? Small scale team versus team arena style skirmishes, which yes, that's what I want. Ranked league style play, large scale esports matches, private lobbies, something else. Where they mentioned private lobbies, we have custom lobbies, but right now they're talking about, Flossie was talking about maybe exploring that, and they are exploring that. Chapter 3, we knew nothing going into it other than it was movement changes. Chapter 2, we knew everything before it went into. I would assume that right now they're probably going to kind of mix those two things. So we'll probably start hearing a little bit about chapter 4 maybe in the next 2 weeks, because it'll be roughly 2 weeks out of the end of chapter 3 at that point. If chapter 4 is the biggest content patch they've brought out, they're going to have to market this and market this and market this and market this. And hopefully we'll see that soon. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of having the biggest content patch ever if you're not going to market it? Also, guys, we are going to start a 3v3 arena league in our own customs thing. I have not announced the name. I have not announced the Discord yet, but we will have, that stuff is already done, and we're working on a bunch of stuff right now, and it's really going to be exciting. I polled you guys on Twitter and YouTube, and it was like, I think total, it was almost like 310 votes total. And I think overall out of that 310, it was like 80-ish% said yes, they wanted this. And okay, we're gonna make it and we're gonna do it. And we're gonna have prizes, we're gonna have leagues, we're gonna have tournaments, we're gonna have scrims. Starting out, we're probably just gonna have scrims. But Monday is when we're gonna release a little trailer thing for you. So anyways, guys, tell me what you think down below. Tell me what you expect. And like I said earlier, we'll get into what we do know once we do know. Guys, I love you, love yourselves, and have a great day. Peace.